Hey there, welcome to the Thriving in Wellness podcast with Haley and Caitlin. This podcast is for women who are tired of just surviving and ready to truly thrive. It's time to reclaim your health and build trust in your body.
Join us as we myth bust nutrition topics, tackle your mindset, and dive into the nerdy side of women's health. Just a reminder that this is meant for educational purposes only and is not meant to be used for medical diagnosis or treatment. Now let's jump in. Hey, welcome back to the Thriving in Wellness podcast. So happy to have you back. Today, we are going to be talking about exercise a little bit. And we both really want to point out that we are not personal trainers. We don't give workout plans to our clients. We're not going to dive into like that nitty gritty of things today. We're going to be very general about what types of exercise might help you in reaching your goals and how sometimes our exercise might even be a little detrimental to our health.
Sounds like it'll be interesting talking about that. But yes, definitely not giving workout plans, but it's something we still talk to our clients about all the time is how they're moving their body, whether it be exercise or literally just movement. Are you sitting on your butt all day at your desk? Because that can make a difference of how your hormones are healing, how your metabolism's healing, right? So all those things are important to consider, not only the nutrition aspect, but lifestyle as well.
Yeah, and your mental health. Like I know so many times I have patients that are like, yeah, I just need to go for like a walk outside every day.
Yes.
It's good for my brain.
Yeah, that was me recently. Maybe I'll bring up some personal stories here today because I have not been able to do my normal workouts that I enjoy. I'm still getting some movement in, which has kept me sane and really important for my mental and physical health. But my actual exercise is something that I'm trying to re-implement into my routine because it's just been thrown off, and I think it's ultimately impacting my mental health. I have another point on that. Maybe it'll come up later.
Well, on the mental health piece, I know one thing that we were talking about before we jumped on was that it's so important to do exercise that you enjoy. So while today we're going to be talking about different forms of exercise and how it can help you reach specific goals, if you hate doing a particular exercise, even if it's the one that's going to be best for your goals, like you're not going to stick with it and keep doing it if you absolutely hate it.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you can rely on discipline to get through, and maybe you get to the point where you do actually enjoy it, but ultimately you need to feel the benefits and enjoy the things that you're doing if you're wanting to stick with it long term. And that's really the goal is why are you just doing this workout plan or whatever for a few days, similar to with nutrition? Like long-term goals is what we always have in mind.
Yeah, I always think about when people talk about running, and I'm like, that's so good for you that you enjoy running. And what's funny is like I trained for a half marathon in in college, did not
Yep.
get to actually run it, but I trained for it. And then after that, I was like, well, I can't run. Like I still feel like the pain from that stress
Ugh.
fracture. If I try to run like anything more than like maybe 3 miles. But I learned, oh, I actually don't enjoy this. I just thought that running was good for me, and that's why I was doing it.
Yeah, I remember when you were training for that, you and our other roommate, and I was like, man, I couldn't sign up for it, but I wanted to train with you guys. And for some reason, I had that on my bucket list too. I was like, I need to do a half marathon. I don't know why. I've never liked running in my life. So I think the farthest I got up to with the training was like 6 miles or something, which honestly is great.
It
But
is.
after that, I was done. I was like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would for me too. It was that like it's on my bucket list. I feel like it was something that I needed to do, and I will never run a half marathon. It's just
I
not
don't
my
think
part.
I will either, and that's okay. I will say every once in a while I get this like urge to run, and I don't know if it's just like a nervous system thing where I need to like get that repetitive movement in or something, but I do get that urge and I'll go for like a mile, 2 mile run and I'm like, okay, I'm good. I felt that.
What's funny is well, we're both dancers or I danced in the past. I don't know if I can still call myself a dancer.
Once a dancer, always a
Um,
dancer.
but like dance-based workout classes, like that, that is what I love doing.
Mhm.
Like that's the type of exercise where like I'm excited to do it. I look forward to it. I feel amazing afterwards from like a mental health aspect, but then also physically, it just like that's the ticket for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's another good point too. So I personally can't stand like bar workouts or mainly just bar workouts because they're really slow paced for me. And I see people like not using proper ballet technique. I'm like, you're gonna hurt yourself. But that's a whole nother thing. However, when I'm able to actually go in and take a like a true dance class,
Mhm.
I love it. Like I'm so pumped up and energized afterwards, which is usually not a good thing because they're in the evening, then I can't sleep. But overall, they're energizing, they feel good, and I don't feel like I'm working out. So,
Yeah.
yes, it's really important to enjoy your workouts and sprinkling in some of those really good, like enjoyable workouts is really important. But we also have to be strategic of the type of workout that we're doing, the type of exercise that will actually help you move forward with your goals.
Yeah, so I think what we both see most often, especially working with women, is that there's a lot of cardio happening and sometimes no strength training at all. And that's where we really do need to be incorporating strength training, but like specifically progressive overload training to really start to build muscle.
Yeah, and so people, these women are doing all this cardio, these HIIT workouts, these boot camps, and maybe occasionally doing some weightlifting, but it's like it's body weight stuff, maybe a workout they found on Pinterest or YouTube or like 5 pound weights. And that's not sure. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's making progress in the right direction, but that's not
And
what we're talking about.
yeah, and if you're like brand new to exercise and just starting out, like you have to start somewhere.
Exactly. Yes.
But if you've been working out for a while and you're still sticking with those same 5 pound weights, yeah, we got to ramp that up.
Yeah, I think there's so many reasons why women are hesitant to add that strength training in. A big one I hear, I feel like we're kind of moving away from this, but this fear of getting bulky, and they have this thought of, I need to lose the fat first so that then I can tone up and build the muscle. Or other people are thinking, I need to build that muscle under my fat. It doesn't really work that way. But and I think the biggest one I hear is the concern or fear, or I don't know what emotion I'm trying to think about right now. But these boot camps, these HIIT classes, this cardio, that shows up on our watches like, yeah, you did it. You burned a ton of calories, which feels great. Whereas the strength training doesn't always show that same numerical return, I guess. And so we're feeling like we're not doing as much.
And it doesn't always give that like runner's high feeling where like when you get your heart rate up and you're like really sweaty,
Mhm.
sometimes that can give you that feeling of like, I worked so hard because I'm
Feels
like
so good.
drained and like exhausted. Um, but there's so much benefit to that, the strength training, even though it's not giving you that same return that you're seeing with the cardio, like immediate return.
Exactly. And so what we're trying to say here is the amount of calories you burn in a workout doesn't necessarily determine if it's a good or a better workout for you.
Sure.
Sure, burning calories is important. And the fact of the matter is though that like planned exercise is a very, very small portion of how many calories you burn throughout the day. So if we get so fixated on I'm going to burn this many calories at my workout, so then I could go eat all these things, or because you burn calories at the workout, you then feel like you can eat some unhealthy things that can get you kind of stuck in this hamster wheel.
Yeah, definitely. So when would you say that it is a good time for someone to actually slow down with their exercise? Because I have people ask me this question a lot of like, I keep hearing that HIIT workouts may not actually be the best for me.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And I think to some people, it seemed weird that a dietitian is recommending you to actually take a step back from exercise or exercise less. Because so
Yep.
often we think like, oh, they're just going to tell me to exercise more and cut down on my calories. But that's definitely not the case in so many of our clients' lives and their journeys, right? So there is definitely a time and place. And this was true for me recently as I went through a protocol, was slowing down, not incorporating as much intense workout, even taking a step away from the strength training workout and slowing down on that. So times that we need to consider to reevaluate our exercise and maybe even slow down is if your sleep is not existent or you're not getting nearly enough, sleep is crappy, so you're sleeping like 4 to 5 hours a night, you're just going to be running on fumes.
Yes. Or you're a mom and you're only getting sleep in like 2 hour chunks. Me.
Exactly. So I think this is a good opportunity then for you to maybe talk through what do you recommend for moms who are in that situation? Like, because I know a lot of women are like, I don't like, I need to move. I need to move my body, or else again, that negatively impacts mental health.
Right. So I help moms try to find light movement. So oftentimes it's like yoga or walking that feels good. And so often going for a walk, it gets you outside. You can either baby wear your baby or have them in the stroller. So it's easy to like bring your baby along with you, and getting outside just feels so good. And if you're outside in the morning in the sunlight, like that can help with your circadian rhythm while your sleep in the evening or at night is absolute trash. Um, but yeah, really reminding moms that it's so important for them to prioritize their sleep. And I see the issues coming in more so once the baby is starting to sleep a little more consistently through the night, but then occasionally has bad nights. And these moms are like, well, I told myself that I'm going to go to the gym at 6 a.m., but then their baby is up all night, has been consistently sleeping, but then just this one night. And I'm like, that's the time for you to shut your alarm off and sleep in. That's
Mhm.
okay. It's more important for you to rest your body and feel like a functioning person during the day than to go to the gym exhausted and like attempt to put in a good workout for an hour.
That's such a good point. And I think that's really where we start to lean into once we learn how to support our body, when to bring in these different tools, we can trust that a little bit more. And I think a good way to kind of determine if the exercise you're doing is really supporting you or not right now is how are you feeling afterwards?
Mhm.
Right? Are you feeling absolutely drained afterwards? That's a good sign it's not the best workout for you to do right now, right? If you notice that your anxiety increases or you are starving after a workout,
Mhm.
that might be a sign that we need to make sure you're actually eating enough and working on these other foundational things before adding in that type of workout, or maybe just reevaluating your type of exercise in general.
Yeah. Yeah. So that like poor sleep is a big one. A good sign that you need to slow down. And then if you're struggling to eat enough, and like that's one piece that has been my problem recently, I guess both of those, poor sleep and also not eating enough. And that's where I've been focusing on, okay, I want to get in a walk every day because that movement feels good for me, but I need to not push myself to do anything more than that until I'm sleeping and eating more consistently.
Yeah, I think it's tough too. Like I've been in this spot where I'm actually eager to work out again. I'd love to like really push myself with the strength training, but I need to be careful with it because I'm at the point where I could go over into burnout and be stressing my body a little bit too much. And so even though it's something that we really want to do, or maybe if we feel like, hey, that's how I really relieve my stress, maybe relying on some other tools for this seasonal life, if that's the case for you. But who knows? Maybe it's a time that you actually can push yourself in the gym. And there are definitely times where that is the case, and we encourage that. But making sure you're sleeping enough for recovery, eating enough for recovery, so you don't feel like you're chasing that hunger too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that term, like chasing hunger. And it's that feeling of like after you work out, you're so hungry, like you were saying. And then throughout the rest of the day, it's like you never feel like full and satisfied enough. And so then you're just continuing to feel hungry all throughout the day. And it's like this miserable feeling.
Mhm.
But it's a sure sign that you are not fueling yourself very well.
Exactly. I noticed actually for me when I, like even just now this week, I added strength training back in. I did a simple strength training workout, and I noticed a big difference like the next day or two after. So I worked out on Wednesday, and then Thursday, like afternoon, I was actually much more hungry, which it wasn't the chasing hunger, but I noticed an increase in my hunger. So I honored that in a
Yes.
strategic way. I made sure I gave myself enough carbohydrate, enough protein to really build back that muscle and have proper recovery.
Yes, absolutely. And if you're doing this exercise and you weren't honoring that hunger, then it's kind of defeating the purpose of the exercise and the time that you're putting in because your body isn't able to rebuild.
Exactly. And so we see that often with a lot of women where they're either doing a lot of the HIIT style workouts, boot camps, or even if they are doing the strength training, they're feeling frustrated that they're putting all this effort in, working so hard in the gym, but not necessarily seeing that reflected with their body composition or the changes that they're seeing.
Yeah, definitely. And like largely from that underfueling perspective. But then on the flip side, that mindset of like, well, I exercised and now I can go and eat whatever I want.
Or it's not something we ever encourage. Oh, I need to like work out to earn certain foods. Like separate the two, right?
Yes.
We don't work out to earn food, and we don't eat because we worked out,
Yeah.
right? But it is important to fuel your workouts, if that makes any sense at all. Like we need to separate the two, but also they are so important to consider together.
Yeah, when I'm like looking at macros or calorie recommendations for somebody, or if somebody's tracking their intake, I don't like when the like MyFitnessPal or whatever you use like inserts your
Oh, yeah.
exercise calories in there, because then people feel like either they have way more calories that they can eat that day when I've already factored in their exercise into the recommendation, or they feel like, oh, well, I didn't exercise today. And so now I can't eat as much, but maybe they put in a like really good workout the day before and their body is still recovering from that and they're needing those additional calories.
Your body still needs calories if you're working out or not, 100%. And I always talk about that too, because I have a lot of people that will have, they're tracking their food already, and usually MyFitnessPal or whatever the other apps are. And I tell them, like, I'm already taking that into consideration when I calculate these for you. So we're not going to then shift it every day depending on what it says about your calorie burn. And one more thing I'll say about that is that oftentimes those calorie burns are not accurate, right? It's a very generic estimation. So I don't like to use those because we don't know exactly how many calories you burned. And so we're taking that consideration with the total calculations.
Right. And it doesn't do a great job when you're doing like strength training activities because your heart rate isn't increasing, but you're clearly putting it doesn't increase as much as like cardio based activities or like HIIT workouts. Um, but you're obviously putting in a lot of effort. Your body is just working in a very different manner.
You burn calories differently For sure. Because like with cardio, you're seeing that again in the moment. You're like, oh man, I just burned like 500 calories. But there's some strength training workouts where I see like I burn like 200, if that,
Mhm.
right? But I'm building muscle and then I'm burning calories more longer term rather than the cardio. It's just like that moment in time.
Yeah. Yeah, because your body's having to repair itself. And then once we've actually built the muscle and added that on, that's increasing our metabolic rate. So we're just burning more calories at rest long term.
Yeah, this can be a lot to wrap your mind around, especially if you've been so trained to believe that burning calories or exercise is meant to just burn calories to earn your food. It can be really challenging to be able to be okay with taking a step back from exercise or recognize that a different type of exercise might actually be needed for you to see results.
Yes, for sure. And I feel like, a big takeaway from this is um women need strength training. We
Yes.
need to be incorporating some of that and then really look at the time and season of your life. And if this is the best time for you to put in a lot of effort from an exercise standpoint, or if it's a time when you need to take a step back and focus on those lighter activities like walking and yoga, those restorative mental health type activities.
Exactly. So that is it for today. I hope you got some great information out of this, and maybe you'll reflect back on what your exercise routine currently looks like, whether that means adding something more in, figuring out ways you can get more movement throughout the day, or maybe it's a season where you need to slow down or just switch it up. But as always, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram at Dietitian Caitlin and Dietitian Haley, and we'd love to chat this through.